Welcome to the Quiet Exit podcast, where UK business owners find clarity, confidence, and calm as they think about stepping back. No noise, no pressure, just the next chapter done right.
Hello again, and welcome back to the Quiet Exit podcast. I'm Stephen McConaughey, and I want to thank you sincerely for tuning in today. Whether you're listening in the car, on a walk, or in a rare moment of stillness between tasks, I'm glad you're here. This podcast is for business owners in the UK who've spent years, maybe even decades, building something real, and now you're starting to think about the next chapter. Not because you're forced to, not because something's gone wrong, but because something inside is starting to shift. Today we're exploring a question that's both practical and deeply personal. What happens to everything I've built when I'm not the one holding it anymore? It's a heavy one, isn't it? Not dramatic, not loud, but weighty. Because the truth is, when you're the one who's always been at the centre of the business, stepping back isn't just about operations, it's about identity, trust, legacy, continuity. In today's episode, we're going to sit with that, gently, honestly. We'll explore how that fear shows up, not as panic, but as a quiet question. We'll look at what buyers like us actually consider when we meet owner-led businesses, and we'll share a real story, one that shows what it looks like to transition without unraveling. If by the end of today's episode you'd like to go deeper, there's a resource inside the Quiet Exit Club that fits perfectly. Our Quiet Transition Planner. It's designed for this exact stage. Not ready to sell, but ready to think clearly. You'll find it at epitomecapital.co.uk/quiet-exit-club. But for now, let's breathe. Let's reflect. Let's explore that quiet but powerful question. What happens without me? Let's begin here. There's a kind of responsibility that most people don't see. It doesn't appear in the balance sheet. It's not listed in your KPI dashboards or strategy documents. And no one, not even your accountant, knows how to measure it. But you feel it. Every day. It's the invisible weight of being the one who holds the business together. Not out of control, not because your team can't be trusted, but because that's what leaders do, especially those who've built something from the ground up. You're the one with the context. You're the one who's seen every version of the business. You remember the lean years, the big wins, the clients who came through in a pinch. You've held hands during staff funerals, written personal cheques to cover shortfalls, taken calls on Christmas Eve and smiled through it all. There is no manual for that, and yet every business has someone who does it, quietly. So when you start thinking about stepping back, it's not just about leaving, it's about wondering what happens to all those threads you've been weaving for years. Threads that don't show up in org charts or SOPs, but hold everything together nonetheless. And here's what happens. The thought comes in sideways, softly. Maybe it's while watching your team in a meeting and realising they look to you for cues before speaking. Maybe it's on holiday when you get a message that says, "Sorry to bother you, but..." Or maybe it's in a moment of silence when the day ends, the office empties and you're left alone with the reality that this business doesn't just run with you. It runs because of you. And then comes the question. Quiet, sharp. If I wasn't here, what happens? It's not fear in the conventional sense. It's more of a tension. A pull between wanting the business to survive and not wanting to be the one carrying it forever. This is what I call the quiet grief of succession. Not because something's been lost, but because something might be. And the hardest part, you're not sure who else sees that weight. Let's shift gears. Let's look at this through the lens of a buyer, specifically a direct buyer like us at Epitome Capital. We don't list businesses, we don't flip them. We buy with the intention to preserve what matters, and then grow with care. And here's something many owners don't hear often enough. You do not have to be invisible in your business before it can be sold. That idea that a business must be completely owner independent before it's sale ready is often more myth than reality. Yes, in theory it's ideal to have systems, delegation and leadership layers, but in real UK businesses, especially those between 1 and 10 million in revenue, it's completely normal for the owner to still be involved in decisions, relationships, culture and more. That's not a red flag, that's normal. What we care about as buyers is not that you've disappeared. What we care about is this: are you willing to let go? Is there a pathway to hand over what you know, calmly and gradually? Are there people in the business we can support and grow? Because that gives us confidence. Think of it like this: a great transition isn't about removing the owner, it's about transferring their wisdom, their way of seeing the business, into people and systems that can carry it forward. And that's where we put most of our energy during acquisition. We work with owners to gently extract what's only in their head and shape it into something others can carry. It might be as simple as creating a handover log, documenting decisions, patterns, unseen insights, shadowing key meetings for a few months, gradually empowering their second tier of management, or sitting down one-to-one to hear the real stories that shaped the business. None of that requires you to vanish overnight. In fact, rushing that part often creates more problems than it solves. So if you've been quietly wondering, does this business need to be totally independent of me before I even consider talking to someone? The honest answer is no. What matters most is your mindset, your openness, and your care for what happens after you. That's what gives us, and any good buyer, confidence. Let me take you a little deeper into Darren's story. Not just the surface level version, the real one. Darren's business had been running for just over 30 years. It started in a garage, literally, and grew into a manufacturing operation with long-term contracts, a warehouse and a tight-knit team. But Darren was tired. Not burnt out, just tired in the way only someone who's held every moving part of a business for 3 decades can understand. When we first met, he said, "I haven't taken a real break since 2003, and I'm not even sure this place would run without me if I did." That kind of honesty is rare and valuable, because it told me that Darren knew his business. He knew where the friction was. He wasn't hiding behind bravado or pretending everything was systemised. He was just ready for a shift. Over the course of 9 months we walked the path together. We spent the first month identifying every task Darren still handled personally, from contract renewals to supplier disputes. We then categorised them. What could be delegated? What needed new hires? What could be phased out entirely? We brought in someone Darren trusted, a rising team member, and began cross-training. Slowly, Darren moved to 4 days per week, then 3, then advisory only. During that process, something shifted. The team began to grow in confidence. Customers started to adapt, and Darren, for the first time in years, got to watch his business run without him and not fall apart. He told me months later, "I realised I wasn't just holding it together, I was holding it back, because I didn't know how to let go without guilt." That's a transformation we aim for, not just a sale, a shift in story, where letting go becomes an act of legacy, not loss. Let me leave you with a practical, gentle tool, something you can do this week. Take a notebook, draw a simple line down the middle, label one side things I'm still holding, label the other things I could begin handing over. Now sit with it, quietly. Start writing. No rush, no edits. just observe what still lives on your plate. You might list things like approving key hires, making pricing decisions, managing specific client relationships, signing off every marketing campaign. Then on the other side, begin imagining what could someone else eventually take on if I gave them the support to do it. This isn't a delegation tool, it's a clarity tool. It helps you see that the path to exit doesn't start with a sale. It starts with trust. One small release at a time. And that's how legacy gets built. Thank you for being here today. If nothing else, I hope this episode gave you a bit of breathing room. A bit of language for the quiet feelings that most owners carry, but rarely say aloud. You've built something meaningful that doesn't go away when you step back. It can continue with the right structure, the right timing, and the right kind of buyer. And if you'd like help thinking that through, the Quiet Exit Club is there. Today's resource, the Quiet Transition Planner, is a good next step. Just clarity if you want it. epitomycapital.co.uk/quiet-exit-club. Until next time, take care of what you've built and take care of yourself too.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Quiet Exit. If you're quietly thinking about your next chapter, you're not alone, and you don't have to figure it out publicly. For more resources, private insights, or to learn how we support legacy-first exits, visit epitomycapital.co.uk/quiet-exit-club. Until next time, stay clear, stay calm, and keep moving quietly.